To all our amazing fans, the truth is, we are here for you. We got to thank you for 10 years of support and inspiration. You're the reason we're here.
And it's all been leading up to this.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being so incredible.
We couldn't have done any of this without you.
Kennedy said, "I have a responsibility to the company that I work with. I don't feel that I have a responsibility to cater in some way to fans.
It's really put me in a position to make decisions. I mean, the fact that I can sit in a meeting and say, I think the protagonist should be a woman. I think that those are the kind of changes that are really, really important in our business.
Are you looking at minorities and women directors for those titles?
Well, we are, and we're doing what we always do, which is looking for the best filmmakers, the best writers, the best directors possible. So I'm not going to say for sure that we're going to hire any one demographic, but we're certainly meeting with a lot of people. So we will do what we've always done, which is hire who we believe to be the best people to write the films and to direct the films.
It is going to happen. We are going to hire a woman who's going to direct a Star Wars movie. I have no doubt.
I've been a Marvel fan my entire life. I've worked for Marvel for over 10 years now. And during all of that time, it was, why can't all the characters come together like they do in the comics? And about 5 years ago, we became Marvel Studios. We had the rights to almost all of our great characters. And I realized, you know what, we could do it now. And we started doing little things like putting Sam Jackson at the back of Iron Man 1, bringing Black Widow into Iron Man 2, really bringing all these worlds together. And now finally it's here, and we're almost finished principal photography. And I have to pinch myself almost every day to realize we're actually making this movie.
People have just stayed with it. It means something to them. Certainly at this point, to be working on something like Star Wars is the culmination of all the experience that I've had over the years that I've been able to put to use with this film. So, just from the standpoint of being somebody in the audience, that it would be so wonderful to have these stories come back. And
I've been a Marvel fan my entire life.
And I immediately thought of, just from the standpoint of being somebody in the audience.
I've worked for Marvel for over 10 years now.
Certainly at this point, to be working on something like Star Wars is the culmination of all the experience that I've had over the years that I've been able to put to use with this film. So,
and I have to pinch myself almost every day to realize we're actually making this movie.
Were you always a Star Wars fan?
I was a Star Wars fan in the fact that I had already decided to become a film major in college when the movie came out. And there's no question that it was a groundbreaking movie.
Marvel's the house of ideas, right? I mean, the stacks of comics that we have, and I always go like this because it literally is the stack that high of almost every character, is so rich and has so much great material in it. You just have to know what to pull out. You need to know who to assemble, from the actors to the filmmakers to the screenwriters, and hope that they sort of share your vision.
And I think that that's something inside the company that I still find the most interesting, which is that George recognized that taking stories to drive technology was one of the most important things you could do. And that's something that we continue to do as we develop our stories. We keep looking at where can we start to push the technological boundaries.
So much great material in it. You just have to know what to pull out. You need to know who to assemble, from the actors to the filmmakers to the screenwriters.
So as we develop our stories, we keep looking at where can we start to push the technological boundaries.
Kevin Feige, when I first came, Kevin Feige runs the show. When I first came on set to do makeup tests for Vision, he kind of cried. He's a real fan.
I was a Star Wars fan in the fact that I had already decided to become a film major in college from the standpoint of being somebody in the audience.
I'm sure there'll be comic books and video games and novels that tell the story, but
I'm just going to break in here and make sure that everybody out there realizes he is so significantly important to this next film. You have no idea.
Well, that's good to hear.
Mr. Modesty.
I don't know that a lot of people could have pulled off getting Spider-Man in this movie except for Kevin Feige.
I think it was a good answer, right?
I want Kevin to walk back into the thunderous applause he deserves. That is
From the standpoint of being somebody in the audience. People have just stayed with it. It means something to them. I was a Star Wars fan in the fact that I had already decided to become a film major in college.
Do you think she has any just kind of inherent weaknesses or...
I mean, I don't really believe in weaknesses in people.
Okay. I like that outlook.
Yeah.
Very positive.
You know, strong women are an important part of stories, but not just strong women, but vulnerable women, weak women, interesting women, funny women.
And, you know, I don't think it's possible when if you're really telling a story you care about and having it come from your heart, it's just not possible to be intellectually processing like what everyone else wants, and nor would it be a good thing, a healthy thing. I don't think that's a good way to tell a story. So.
Joe and I have a process where we work very, very closely with the writers, Chris Marcus and Steve McFeely, who've worked on every Marvel movie with us, and we go through a very, very thorough development process with them and script writing process where we think about the story from every different angle, think about every character from every different angle, and we really beat up and test the script to make sure that we go into production. Because these movies are so hard to shoot, you want to go into production with as tight and clear a plan as possible.
It's just not possible to be intellectually processing like what everyone else wants.
Think about the story from every different angle, think about every character from every different angle, and we really beat up and test the script.
Rian delivered the script, I think, the first draft that everybody responded, Kathleen, everybody in the studio responded super positively, probably like 13 or 14 months before we started filming. She doesn't really have this world and this kind of big movies. So.
And it goes through many iterations. I mean, the first draft, I think, went through 4 or 5 different iterations. And then you cull it down from there, and you're sort of working through the process of, being really diligent with the storytelling.
Can I just say, though, a lot of times I would say to Rian, we got to think about the fans. And he said, no.
You can't know everything. It just doesn't work that way. You have to get to a certain place in a process or a certain point in the road, and then you go, all right, now I see how these roads converge and how this could. And ultimately, I think what Marvel has done is they have taken the high road and they've really listened to the audience and the fans, and there's been a lot of kind of creative synergy.
Every Star Wars fan has a list of stuff they want and don't want from all of these movies, and nothing's going to line up with that.
We make these movies for the fans. We grew up comic book fans, so we're always excited when the audience responds.
The way I approached how we would go about making episode 7 wasn't any different than what we would do with any large tentpole movie today.
And there is just the notion of let's do an Iron Man movie, or let's have the audacity to try to do a version of the Infinity Gauntlet. It starts with those comics, and with Infinity War in particular, when there were so many characters and so many threads of storylines from so many movies that we could have pulled from or could have used as inspiration, and we did. We kept going back to the giant omnibus of the Infinity Gauntlet there with all sorts of dog-eared pages and Post-its in there from moments that came directly from Jim Starlin's work there. So it is always a guide point. It's a North Star for us as we lead these giant productions into reality, are right from those books and where it all started.
The way I approached how we would go about making episode 7 wasn't any different than what we would do with any large tentpole movie today.
I thought it was delightful. I think the strongest thing for me was my expectations were subverted.
So you're saying it subverted your expectations in a way that was satisfying and kept you wondering what was going to happen next?
Well,
Why does it work here and not in Star Wars The Last Jedi? Why does the subverted expectations work in this instance and not in the other? Because you know that's going to be the bitching in the comments. But The Last Jedi was subverted and it was bad!
The mere act of subverting expectations in and of itself is not an accomplishment.
Okay.
Like, that's easy. How are people going to expect this to end? We won't do that. It's subverting it in a way that is intriguing and satisfying in its own right, which this does, and that does not.
Where you're asking, where is this going to go?
At the end of Last Jedi, I was like, I'm done with Star Wars. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care where this goes. At the end of this, I was like, I want to know what happens next. I'm actually actively anticipating the next Avengers movie. Like, that's the biggest shock of all.
It's going to be really exciting. I mean, I've seen a little bit of the clip that they're going to show, but you know, this is such a fan-driven enterprise and franchise, you could call it. That's a terrible one.
I was a Star Wars fan in the fact that I had already decided to become a film major in college.